Good morning, brothers and sisters. This is Sean, and this is the Aftermath Podcast. Welcome back to the Aftermath Podcast. Thank you so much for checking this episode out today. Thank you so much for engaging with this content. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being a part of this community. Today, I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Lucius is not here, so I'm flying solo today. I'm going to try this out and see how it works. And today I want to talk about the power of words. I think this is something that we don't talk enough about. We really don't think about the impact of our words and the outcome of things that we say a lot of times, especially on social media. Every day I look on social media and I'm just shocked at how careless people can be with their words. They comment on something, they're tearing each other apart in the comment sections. And today, I think it's important to just address this, not just from the standpoint of how this works in the church context, but how it works in the context of everyday life in our society and the outcome of the words that we use. And not just the words that we use, but the purpose behind the words, the things that we say, and then also the things that we don't say that are sometimes even more powerful than what we're actually saying, and the motives behind those words. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to share a story that my friend sent me yesterday, and I had a totally different plan for this episode, a totally different outline. I had notes ready and everything, and I was not sure how I was going to deliver that episode. And then my friend messaged me yesterday, and she shared this story with me, and it totally rocked me. So I thought, well, all right, I'm going to shift gears, and we're going to talk about this. So I'm going to start with this verse and then build off of this from there. So the verse comes out of Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21. And for those of you who know this verse, the verse says, "The power of life and death are in the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Now, that's a very simple verse, as a lot of Proverbs are. It's very short, it's very simple, it's very to the point, but there's a lot in that verse that I think often gets missed or maybe misconstrued in a lot of social circles. And I think that it's a powerful message that we need to unpack. So the power of life and death is in the tongue. We don't think about the words that we use a lot of times. I know I've been guilty of this. I'm sure people who are listening to this episode are guilty of it as well. And in our culture, we don't think about things that we say. We just say them. As I mentioned before, on social media, it's easy when you're sitting behind a screen and you're tapping on a keyboard. You can say something, and because you're not looking that person in the face or you're not talking to them directly, you feel more emboldened. You feel more like, I can say this and it's not going to make a big difference. Well, it does make a big difference. First of all, you look like a fool. So there's that. But also, what you're saying, even if the person on the other end of that screen who posted the thing that you're commenting on, they don't seem to be affected by it, it affects people. Whether it affects people in the moment or months, weeks, years later, every word that we say has an impact. And it's going to either build that person up or tear them down. So life and death, and those are things that we really need to think about when we're talking to people, when we're commenting on social media, we're commenting on a post, we're commenting on a video. Our opinion, everybody's allowed to have an opinion, right? That's fine, but the opinions that you have, you need to understand why you have those opinions and what those opinions are coming from. Have you ever considered how powerful your words are? Do you stop and think, what is this word, what is this thing I'm about to say going to do to the person I'm going to say it to? Do you realize how much of an impact your words can have on somebody? Do we think about that? Do we stop for a minute before we're going to say what we're going to say and think, you know what? It's probably better if I just stay quiet. I know at work, when I have a stressful day, it's easier for me to fall into this trap of, oh, I'm just going to say something because I'm tired and I'm frustrated, I'm stressed out. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. I want to leave and, go home. I want to be done with this day. Well, I need to exercise maturity and I need to exercise self-control and discipline in what I say or what I choose not to say. Everybody has moments like that where you slip up, you have moments of weakness and you say something and then you wish that you could take it back, but that's the thing, you can't. It's not like we have an undo button where we can say something or, on a lot of smartphones now, they'll have an unsend feature where we can unsend a text or we can unsend a message and it's as if it never happened. And don't you wish you could have that in real life? I know I do. I have moments in my life, days in my life, where I wish I could take things back that I've said to my wife, to my friends, to my coworkers, to random people that I rub shoulders with or come across during my day. I wish I could say something else. I wish I could have a redo. So stop for a second. Think about things that you've said recently. Think about statements you've made. Think about things you've said in response to your wife, your son, your husband, your daughter, your family members, your coworkers. Are there things that you wish you could take back? Are there things you wish that you didn't say? Moments in your life where you had less discipline, you had less self-control, and what you said got you into a situation where, okay, you missed out on an opportunity. Maybe at work you got passed up for a promotion or whatever it is. I think this is something that, unfortunately, is characteristic of a lot of us in the church. I know that if you talk to anybody who works at a restaurant, one of their least favorite days of the week is Sunday, because that's when they get the meanest people and the lowest tips. And the meanest people are often church people. And that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be the case that we, as children of God, as people of God, are known for our sharp tongues, that we're quick to say something or quick to criticize or quick to make a comment that honestly, we have no business making. And we don't look at this as something that's really important because, I'm allowed to have an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion, we justify it by saying, well, so-and-so did this or so-and-so did that, or they didn't bring me my meal on time, or I had to wait longer, or this or that. But that doesn't matter. Because ultimately, we as people of God, we're held accountable for the words that we use. And we're held accountable in ways that we don't even realize. Because we're going to have to give account for everything we say, every careless word, every careless thought. And I'll be honest, man, a little bit of vulnerability and transparency with you guys. I mess up a lot in this area when it comes to how I talk to my wife. I'm very, very quick to respond and say something. And as soon as I say it, I wish I could take it back. I wish that I had a redo. I wish that I could hit pause, rewind, erase, and then redo. Anybody who is old enough to remember VHS, that rewind button, that's awesome. Because you can watch something again if you missed it. I wish I had a rewind button in my life. So if I said something that was rude or disrespectful or harsh to my wife, I had a chance to go back and redo that and say something different. I want to share a little story with you guys. And this is the story that ultimately inspired this episode. So I was getting ready for work yesterday, and a friend of mine messaged me. I'm not going to say who this is. This doesn't matter, but the message that she sent me stopped me dead in my tracks. And she started off by saying that she has listened to episode 4, which, by the way, is up on YouTube right now. You can check it out. It's called The Power of Testimony. She's listened to that episode 4 times. And every single time that she's listened to it, something else stood out to her. Something else jumped out. It impacted her in a different way. And that was one of the things that stood out to me, because sometimes, man, this is episode 5, I'll be honest, it's kind of easy for me to feel like I'm just behind this microphone and I'm talking into this microphone, and I don't know who I'm impacting. And there's been a few people who've messaged me and said, your content has really impacted me. It's helped me. This episode really, really spoke to me. This thing that you said, that thing that you said really impacted me. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm just one person. I'm just trying to share this information with everyone and trying to help all of you guys in some small way. And to hear that really, really hit home for me, that this content, this material that I'm putting out, it's helping people in an actual, tangible, practical way. And then she said, I'm waking up in the morning and I'm super depressed, and I pray every morning to have a good day, and then I put a smile on and I go to work, but I know in my heart that that smile is fake. And I'm sure that a lot of you can probably relate to that. You know, the last 4 years have been very hard for people. And so I'm sure a lot of us are in that same boat. I know I've had days like that recently. And sickness has ripped through my family multiple times in the last few months. So it's easy for me to get really discouraged and really feel like I'm up against a wall. I'm getting beat down by life. But then she said, what you're saying, what you're sharing is giving me a small glimmer of hope in the midst of all this darkness. And all I did on that last episode was share my story. And it wasn't even the whole thing. I shared part of my story, but I figured it was time for me to share a little bit about who I am and the path that I walked to get to where I am now with God, and all the things I've learned and all the experiences that I've had with him. So I wanted to share that. In sharing that, I impacted somebody else, and I gave them a glimmer of hope, and I gave them something to hold on to. And that is what I'm talking about today. Your words matter. Your words have power. And the other thing that has power is your story. Sharing your testimony is very simple. Yeah, it might be scary at first, but it's very simple and it's very powerful. You can say, well, I was like this, and now I'm like this. And when somebody sees or hears, I was like this, and now I'm like this, they can see that there's a path to this over here, to the change, to the outcome. Because you had the boldness and the willingness and the courage to share your story and to talk about what happened in your life, and not just to be closed off or to be negative all the time and be a part of all those negative Nancys on the internet, or the negative Nancys that you know in your neighborhood or your community or at work, but to share that story and that story can impact somebody's life and can give them a glimmer of hope, give them a chance to believe for even one moment that there's a way out of the junk that they're living in. We don't talk about that enough. And I think, if we're honest, every one of us has a story from the last 4 years. Even if it's just from the last 4 years, we all have an experience. Every one of us was impacted by what happened. Everybody's life was turned upside down. So what does it look like now? What was the experience for you those 4 years? What happened in your life? How is your life different now than it was before? What can you do to show somebody, hey, there's hope. I understand. Life's tough. Life's hard. It's hard for all of us, but there is a chance to get out of this. There is hope to get to the other side. And you don't have to sit here. You can listen to somebody else's story, and that can inspire you to be like, hey, I'm going to get up today. I'm going to go to work, or I'm going to face my day, regardless of how I feel. And then I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. And before you know it, you've walked out of your storm, and you didn't even realize it. And you're a mile away from your storm. And you look back and you realize, okay, I made it out. Because I listened to so-and-so, and they said that one thing. I listened to Sean, and his podcast really helped me. I listened to what he said, and I just believed for 1 minute, okay, I know there's a dark cloud over my life right now, but I'm just going to keep walking. One of the best analogies for this is looking at a bison. If any of you guys know anything about a bison, they are one of the only, if the only animal that will run towards a storm, a snowstorm or a rainstorm, and they'll just keep walking through that storm no matter how turbulent or tumultuous that storm is, because they know the quicker I walk through this, the quicker I get to the other side and the quicker the storm ends. And I think that's an interesting metaphor for life. You know, just keep walking, just keep trying to put one foot in front of the other. And while you're doing that, listen to the people around you. Listen to the people around you who have walked that road before you and who know there's another side. You're going to get through this. I know it seems like you won't. You're going to get through this. Just keep walking. It seems really hard right now, but you'll get through it. You'll make it out. So this story, I mean, there's countless stories just like this. But this story inspired this episode, and the story inspired me to get up and to really work very hard yesterday. And I came home and I was exhausted. I was totally exhausted. But I knew that I had a really good day. I knew I left everything on the field. I worked really hard and I pushed through. Even at the end of the day when I was ready to just phone it in and hang up the keys and just go home. I worked and I finished the job, and I didn't get discouraged by the fact that I was tired or people were being rude to me or whatever. I just focused on the goal, and I said, I'm going to keep walking until the moment I clock out of here, and I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to finish well. Remember, the words that you say, they empower people. They'll either empower them in a good way or they will empower them in a negative way. But they have power. And every word that you say achieves some kind of goal. And right now, we need a lot more positivity in our culture because there's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of negativity. People are angry, and I get it. I understand. We've all had a hard 4 years. I understand. It's really dark right now. It's really hard for a lot of people, but we're all in the same boat. So let's pick up an oar. Let's start rowing, and let's encourage each other. Just keep going. Hang on. Just keep pushing. Instead of pushing into that negativity and that mindset, that negative mindset that tells us to just be mad at people and criticize people, let's stop for a second and think about the words that we're using and think about the impact of those words. And instead of being negative, we'll try to just help each other. Just look at the person and realize, listen, we're all in the same boat. We're all on the same level. We're all in this together. We have to be better about this, especially in the church. We have to be better about this because we're all sinners and we're all saved by grace. We all have a story, but we're all the same. And God could have looked at all of us and said, I don't want anything to do with any of you. I don't want to be responsible for saving you, but he was. He sent his son, and his son Jesus didn't look down his nose at us. He became one of us, and he became familiar with the stuff that we suffer from. And he was willing to give himself, all of himself, so that he could give us a chance to be free. So remember, your words have power. Your words have an impact, whether you realize it now or 10 years from now. Every word you say has an impact. What kind of impact do you want them to have? Do you want it to be positive? Do you want it to be negative? Think about that the next time you're about to say something that could possibly tear somebody down. Stop for a second, take a breath, and maybe rewind in your head. Do a self-audit. What's my mindset like right now? Where's my head at? Do a self-audit. Then you can speak. Instead of being quick to speak, be slow to speak, quick to listen, and slow to become angry. And then you'll see exactly how much power your words really have. And then maybe, just maybe, our culture can heal a little bit from all the damage that we've experienced over the last 4 years. And maybe, and I'm speaking to the church on this one, maybe we can see more people understand the reality of who Jesus really is, because we love through our words instead of hate. That's all I got for you guys today. So remember, as always, carry the flag, take up the mantle, live in the aftermath. See you guys next time.